Hello, I'm Craig Stern of Pharma Pharmaceutical Consultants. We have been talking in the Pharma Education channel about formularies recently, and we've talked about the different kinds of formularies, open formularies, closed formularies, preferred formularies, etc. There is something going on behind the scenes though, and we need to talk about that because anyone who's involved in formularies needs to know, even as a user, needs to know what's going on behind the scenes and that things are not as simple as just adding a drug to a formulary. What do I mean by that? Well, if you think about this, the bottom line is that as a pharmacist, a physician, a nurse, or otherwise, we think about drugs by drug name, and that drug name is something that we use in order to identify what is the drug, what is the strength, what is the dosage form, meaning how is it packaged, and how is it delivered? Is it by mouth? Is it by injection? Is it rectal or otherwise? But when you talk about that, there has to be some way of translating that drug name into some sort of a number or some sort of a description that a computer can take and then decide that that drug is covered, and that when someone has a prescription for that drug, that they are going to be able to get it without any kind of disruption or any kind of problems. So what happens? Behind the scenes, drugs are coded. Now, there are many ways to code them. There are ways of coding them by therapeutic category, where you address all drugs that are antibiotics or all drugs that are certain cardiac drugs. And within certain categories, there are subcategories because, for example, within cardiac drugs, there are multiple different categories of drugs that treat high blood pressure, others categories of drugs that treat abnormal heart rates, etc. But the computer has to be given some number that it can use in order to address it. At its most elemental, the number that the computer would use is the NDC, or National Drug Code. The National Drug Code is like a fingerprint for a particular drug. It identifies the manufacturer, it identifies the drug and strength, it identifies the packaging, and that number carries it through its packaging from manufacturer all the way through the wholesaler to the pharmacy and then to the individual who's getting that prescription. That NDC code is unique to every package, which means that there can be a lot. There can be 30 or 40 different NDC codes or more for a given drug. So it isn't real simple to say, well, it's a drug name, therefore I'm okay. We also deal with different categories. So if you have, let's say, 40 different NDC numbers for a given drug, it's hard to have to list out 40 different NDC numbers. Well, what do? You use certain categories. There's a number code that has been addressed and has been put together by each of the different databases, and that makes it hard because one database will have one way of doing the categorization, another will have another way of doing it. And even CMS or Medicare, Medicaid, they have yet another way of doing it. At the end of the day, all of these codes are important. And why are they important to you? Because if you choose a given drug or you know that a given drug is on the formulary, you're assuming that all of the codes for that drug are included. Or if you want to be very specific, let's say you don't want certain dosage forms of the drug or certain strengths, then it is important on the code. People, because it's complicated, have frequently given that information over to pharmacy benefit managers or health plans or otherwise. And yet, most of the problems that occur because of those codes. The next time we talk, we're going to talk about what are the problems with those codes and how do you go about addressing them. I'll see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful day.